Hello everyone, Shen Thomas here. It's actually a nice day in November, warm enough to be out here anyway. Gonna talk a little bit about the 8 postures of Northern Shaolin Kung Fu and how they kind of fit with the 8 elements, but I'm gonna make a quick video just about each posture so I can kind of break it down, right? And so the first one is Earth, which is Ka'un in the 8 elements, right? And this is the most common stance that we use in Kung Fu. It's called Mabu. And so Mabu is horse stance, so it's like you're riding a horse, but it's one of the easiest ways to drop down so you have a little more root, so it's harder for people to knock you over, right? And so Mabu, or Earth, as a posture, it has certain strengths, right? So, in these postures, they have weaknesses too. And then that's why they transition from one posture to the next, depending on, you might be pushed, and so then you'll shift, right? Or you'll put power forward, and then you'll find that you'll have to shift back if you're being pressed one way or another, right? And so you'll change postures. And so the postures are meant to be flexible and to transform one into the next, right? But for training, and especially for training the strength of your legs and your posture, right, then you'll spend time in each one of these stances, okay? And so sometimes you'll see the Shaolin monks, and they'll be really super low in this stance, almost where their thighs are parallel, right? And the back needs to be straight so you don't bend forward. And usually the way to find the width is you want to open and straighten and open and straighten, right? And then that usually gives you something a little bit wider than your shoulders, okay? And for many years we were taught to have our feet pointing straight when we're doing Mabu. But then you watch the Shaolin monks, and they're actually pointing the toes out a little bit. And it makes sense because they're lining it up with the knees, so you're not having the toes pointed in and then the knee, the way the body going out on the knees, right? So you want to kind of have the toes pointed out just a little bit, so it's in line with your knees, okay? And so Mabu, quite often we'll do it as just an exercise to see how long we can do it, right? But usually, in the beginning you want to do it for just maybe 30 seconds or a minute, and then maybe work up to 3 to 5 minutes, right? But the idea with Mabu is if you can get the structure just right, and your back straight, your pelvis forward a little bit, then you can almost relax into it and use a little bit more of the bone structure and let your thighs relax, right? Because if you're in Mabu the whole time with your thighs and your butt tight, then your legs are going to start shaking, right? And you're going to cut off a little bit of the blood circulation. So you want to be able to get into this stance, but then also be able to relax into it. And then that's a key to being able to do this stance for a while, right? And then of course, the horse stance, or Mabu, Ka'un, or Earth in the 8 element, it's mainly used in martial arts as our training stance for, the Shaolin punches that we do, where we're shooting forward or shooting out to the side, right? Or bringing it in. Okay, so Mabu, its power is basically pulling down, pulling inward, or shooting outward, right? Those are kind of its 3 powers, okay? And so in application, we're usually using Mabu not in front of somebody, because of course there's the obvious opening, but we'll be in a forward stance. Somebody will throw an attack and we'll block and usually use Mabu to step in. Usually use it to step in or to attack, right? And so it's usually used to step into the side, right? And then maybe we come back out straight. But we use Mabu to step in. And you see that in some versions of a karate and taekwondo, they'll turn, you know, and that's the idea of bringing an elbow in, okay? But quite often we'll use a punch downward to basically, when a kick comes in, we're bouncing that kick and drilling it. And then we'll shift to forward stance or gongbu, archer stance, bow stance. So Mabu is used a lot with gongbu, right? Because all you're doing is just turning and getting knee power behind that front leg. So in a way, the front leg in gongbu or bow stance is like one of the legs in Mabu. And so again, that's why we're training Mabu, so we can have a lot of strength when we lower our level down. Then it helps us in a lot of the different stances of the 8, right? So Mabu is the first one, and it's earth because it has this feeling of settling downward, right? And sometimes we can even sweep to the side. We can pull things in or shoot things out with Mabu. Okay, so I think that's basically it on the earth stance or Mabu. Thanks for joining me.